Today's guest is someone who's built one of the fastest growing real estate brokerages in the country, Oliver Graf, co-founder and president of Big Block Realty. Under Oliver's leadership, Big Block has redefined what modern brokerage can look like, empowering agents with a unique model while scaling across multiple markets. But beyond just growth, what sets Oliver apart is how he thinks long-term about structure, strategy, and legacy. In this conversation, we're going to unpack the shift from operator to owner, how he's approached wealth creation and preservation, and the tools and decisions that have helped him protect what he's built. You'll also hear his personal reflections on mindset, risk, and what legacy means when you've already crossed major milestones. This is a powerful episode for anyone building something meaningful, so let's dive in. Oliver, man, what inspired you and what inspired the vision for Big Block Realty?
Yeah, first off, John, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it and excited to hopefully give some value to your audience today. In terms of what inspired the vision, me and my business partner, we are both salesmen. We've both kind of been entrepreneurial and in the sales business for many, many years. We met in college, and we were the guys at the mall selling phones out of a kiosk, and that's kind of how it all started. In the just basically trying to stop people and sell them a phone as they walk by. So about as direct sales as you can possibly get. And then from there, as we grew, we kind of had the thought, look, if we're going to sell something, we might as well sell something expensive. And if you're going to sell something expensive, the three things that we could come up with were jets, yachts, and houses. And we didn't know anything about jets or yachts, so we figured houses would be the way to go.
What a cool story. But I've always wondered, what's the response when you're trying to get people to stop in a mall? Is it pretty hard?
Oh yeah, yeah. They mostly tell you to pound sand, but
Yeah.
a couple of day, I'll give you a 60-second conversation, and then you just try to convert them from there.
So I've always admired that. I could never do it myself, but as an aside, I just wanted to ask that question. So from Big Block Realty, when did you realize you had to move from an operator to a true owner?
Yeah, so I think obviously in the early stages of building the business, you're wearing many many hats, and you're really kind of grinding it out on the operator side of things. And then as you start to scale, we had a bit of a unique model in the real estate space. It was a recurring revenue model where agents paid a monthly fee to be a part of the brokerage, and then they would get 100% commission in exchange. So as the revenue started to grow, that's when we started to kind of hire key people to take certain things off of our plates. And then as it continued to grow, I think you kind of focus on the bigger vision and, casting a wider net and bring people in to kind of help with the day to day in the key positions, and then, filling in gaps underneath them as things continue to grow.
Is that still the business model where they pay you guys a fee? Because that sounds like disruptive in the industry.
Yeah, so it was until about 6 months ago where we merged in with a national brand called LPT Realty. So now
Okay.
we are a mega team underneath LPT. And we did that for a wide variety of reasons, but they really add a ton of value to the agents. And they were able to take a lot of things off of our plate as owners that was attractive. So, less compliance, less accounting, less legal, less of the things that we didn't enjoy as much, and more allowed us to focus on what we're really passionate about, which is building a community, growing, expanding into new markets, things like that. And with LPT, they're a national brand where we've always been kind of pigeonholed into California. So it's allowed us to, really focus nationwide now, which has been really great. And then, like I said, they offer a ton of value for the agents as well. A lot of things that we wouldn't have been able to offer, and so it really made sense all the way around, and was a great deal for everybody.
No, that's awesome. How has your mindset around money and success changed over time?
That's a good question. So this might not be the Common answer, but I would say not that much. I was fortunate enough to have my dad was an entrepreneur, my grandpa was an entrepreneur. So from a young age, they've always been talking about money and investing and different things like that. And I have a 10-year-old and 8-year-old now, and I'm kind of doing the same thing with them and just really teaching them young about just, building a foundation, cash flow, dividends, real estate, appreciation, all the different things. So in terms of outlook, it hasn't changed much, but obviously as kind of earn more and are able to invest into different things and bigger projects, we've gone from like more multifamily things now. I'm really interested in a lot of the digital assets that are available nowadays. So that I would say has changed, but in terms of like the fundamentals, not a lot.
Okay, well, I really appreciate your candidness on that answer, and I respect that answer. Let me throw a little twist there. What's one belief about wealth that you used to have, but now that you have it, it's totally changed?
I would say the ability to force appreciation. I think that for a long time, I really thought, especially in real estate, because I'm a real estate guy, so, primarily doing real estate things. And I always thought that you kind of buy a house and just wait. Whereas in the commercial and multifamily space, there's a big opportunity to force appreciation. So buying like a C class property and investing some money and then making it a lot nicer, being able to convert the units over time, raise rents over time, that improves the cap rate and ultimately the value of the property. And so you can really do some amazing things with just forcing appreciation and magnifying your returns.
You bet. What systems or decisions were crucial for scaling Big Block's sustainability?
Yeah, so I'm a systems guy, so I think the more that you can systematize, the better. I think that we've always, from the beginning, looked at how do we automate things, how do we streamline things, how do we, we have processes for everything. So all of our team members have, checklists as on a basic level, and then we have softwares like Go High Level and Keep that do a lot of like back end automation in terms of like lead management. And when we were processing payments, it automated all the payment processing, made a lot of that stuff a lot easier. So I really always look at, and now especially with like AI and things like that, I'm really kind of jumping in head first on that and just studying the things that we can do to get more with less.
And did your merger with TLT help accelerate that as well?
Yeah, most definitely. Because, like I said, one of the benefits for us as owners is, we used to spend a lot of time on compliance and brokering deals and dealing with, mediations and legal situations and taxes and accounting and all that stuff. And so by merging with the bigger brand LPT, they've been able to take a lot of that stuff off of our plate.
LPT, my
And so
apologies.
now we're really able to kind of laser focus on these things that we're talking about now, which is, giving me more time to focus on AI and things like that I'm kind of passionate about and think can really like move the needle in a big way in the business.
Got you. What's what's an unsexy move that you did in the past that turned out to be a major win for longevity?
An unsexy move. So a couple come to mind. I think that, excuse me. And it's funny you say unsexy because one of our 10 core values is always be sexy.
Okay,
So
there you go.
we kind of look at things like that. But we had a sales floor for a long time, like people actually dialing for dollars every single day. And at the time when we ended up going more internet heavy, we joined a mastermind called War Room, which was some of the top like internet marketers in the country, in the world actually. A lot of people would fly in from all over the place, but the stuff we learned in that room really translated to us being able to kind of over the course of about a year really like phase out of having a sales floor and really be able to generate online leads, which went from quite unsexy and a lot of brain damage in terms of daily management, accountability, team huddles, all that sort of stuff, to really going more digital, more internet, more social media. And that is, infinitely more scalable and cost effective and, less management. And so now for many years we've had one recruiter as opposed to a big sales floor, and we're just able to generate those leads to keep him busy.
And when was it that you decided to make that transition? When was that think tank that you guys decided to attend? And then you had to probably make a substantial investment to even attend, right?
Yeah, definitely. We're big believers in like masterminds and coaching and things like that, and our philosophy has kind of always been, the cliche that you're going to pay either way. So it's really hard to stroke a big check, and it was a big check, especially at the time. This was probably 2012, 2013, something like
Yeah, so
that.
you're on the front end of it then.
Yeah, and so that was awfully painful to do, but at the end of the day, you're either going to pay to get the shortcut and learn from the people that are already doing it at a high level can share that information and help you, implement faster, avoid a lot of mistakes, or you're going to pay in terms of time and money and making the mistakes yourself and having to learn things the hard way. So we kind of took the shortcut route, and we've always done that. Like we've had a coach, his name's Mike Ferry, from when we first started the business. That was also a big check, but he was a real heavyweight in the real estate coaching space, and so to have his insight, he coaches some of the top brokers and agents around the country, so he's really able to just kind of say, go this way, not this way, do this, not that, and really kind of shortcut things for us in a big way.
You brought that up, and you said it was a big investment at the time, maybe seemed a little bit scary. My next question is, how do you balance risk and growth as a leader?
Yeah, so I think in terms of our risk appetite, we've always been fairly willing to take a risk in a smart way. Like we always, like I said, like phasing out of a sales floor that was doing well to going all internet heavy was a big risk at the time. But at the same time, if you believe in it, it reduces the barriers. And then just being smart, right? Like we wouldn't just jump in and go all in on something without kind of putting our big toe in the pool first. So put your big toe in the pool, test the waters, and then, maybe get in a little bit more, and then jump in.
It
So
was
we've never been the
calculated,
type. Yeah.
right? It was calculated, so you could tell what your burn rate was, what their conversions were with your sales
Yep.
floor to the metrics of, the marketing via the internet. And you're like, okay, if I redeploy the capital from here to here and I get these results, it's going to give us
Yep.
X amount of growth, right? So it's scary if it doesn't work, but it's a great investment opportunity if it does, right? But that's where being leaders, balancing that risk versus growth and knowing when it feels good and where it doesn't, which leads me to the next question, which is, did you ever say no to something that seemed extremely profitable at the time, but didn't quite align with y'all's core values?
Oh yeah, all the time. In fact, that's really how we built our business and how we were able to grow to what we were. We had over 1,200 agents in the state of California, and we used to always say like, excuse me, we used to always say we put the agent first. Like we really lived that every day. So if it was something that wasn't best for the agent, who we view as our customer, right? And then ultimately the people buying and selling homes are their customer. But we really looked at, we need to do everything we can to support the agents, give them maximum value. And if it's not best for the agents, even if it makes us more money, like we wouldn't do it. Like we used to turn things down all the time because it was something that might have made us more money, but it wouldn't have been best for the agents. And so yeah, that we really built the business on that. Like we're really a customer first business.
I like that. So let's transition a little bit to wealth and legacy. What does legacy mean to you, both personally and professionally?
That's a good question. So legacy is obviously leaving something behind that can outlive you, and that's probably one thing that's really cool about real estate is that if you build a cool project or develop something from the ground up or find something that's already there and redevelop it, that's something that can last for many many years, generations. And so that's one thing that I think is really great about real estate, And one thing that's on my future to-do list is I've always said I want to build a skyscraper. So one day you'll see that.
In which city?
It's a good question. I live in San Diego. I'm born and raised in Southern California. So ultimately that would be the goal. At the same time, California is not that friendly in terms of building, in terms of permitting. So it can take years and years and years to build something here. So that is a bit of a turnoff, but ultimately, like having something in San Diego would be a pretty sweet legacy.
Yeah, that would be cool. Especially if you're going to do it in the downtown area around the airport. I mean, it'd be a challenge to put another big tall skyscraper up there with those airplanes coming into land. Being fun to see though.
Yeah,
What
yeah, for
about
sure.
how do you think about wealth preservation versus just wealth creation?
Yeah, to quote Warren Buffett, never lose money. That's always how I've been. I've always invested very safe. So again, back to the risk appetite thing. I'll keep the core portfolio in things that are very safe, virtually guaranteed, and then I'll take the 10 to 15% down the risk curve and kind of go from there. But at the end of the day, like it really is it's not just about earning it, it's about keeping it. And then obviously, taxes and all that play into that. So making sure you're maximizing, which is another great thing about real estate with depreciation and cost segregations and things like that. So yeah,
Especially
so
now.
never lose money.
It's interesting that you say that. I did a video in the YouTube channel not too long ago called Are You a Stock or a Bond? Which is based on a book that I had read 10 or 15 years ago by a professor, Dr. Moshe Milevsky. But the concept is if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, most likely your income follows the trajectory of a stock. It's up and down, peaks and valleys. And so everything else in your life from an investment standpoint, from a portfolio standpoint, should be very safe and bond-like, right? And the flip side of that is if you are an engineer working at a firm and you have steady income all the time, or you're a teacher, or you're, got some sort of set income, that's a bond, and your investment strategy needs to look more stock-like. So I'm not surprised to hear you say that. Most of my entrepreneurs, when their income is on a very high trajectory and very volatile, the rest of their life tends to be very conservative and safe in nature.
Yeah,
What
definitely
about
help you sleep
any?
at night. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, for
And
sure.
honestly,
Because if everything is subject,
it's another reason I love real estate. Like, not to preach real estate, but ultimately, if you can buy a property that cash flows, that you can put someone else in that pays down the debt, and that's pretty safe for the most part, especially if it's not too highly leveraged, and you'll earn appreciation over time. Let someone else pay it off and collect checks in the meantime.
awesome. What about any other tools or strategies like trusts, life insurance, other types of vehicles that may have been game changers or are game changers for you at this point?
I'm more playing the tax game right now. I think that figuring out ways to pay a lot less in taxes because my tax bill has just been out of control. I don't know where you're at, but I'm again in California, so
I'm in Texas. Yeah.
okay, nice. So yeah, so our state tax is 13%. And so just figuring out ways to obviously legally and ethically reduce that as much as possible, I think has been a big focus over the last couple years.
100%. I mean, I live in Texas. My clients are all over the country, and high income earners, you can easily get north of 50% in California. And even here in Texas, right? No state income tax, no city tax to speak of. I mean, we do have pretty high sales tax, pretty high property tax. But I have a client right now, had a career year last year in 2024, haven't yet filed their taxes yet, filed extensions, and is just desperately looking for any tax deductions that they can get to reduce their tax liability. I mean, they always say more money, more problems, and paying tax is a good problem to have, but it is a significant issue. Agreed. All right. So if your kids are listening to this in 25 years, what would you want them to hear?
I would say, and I tell them this every night before they go to sleep, I would say you can achieve anything that you want. The world is yours. You just have to go out there and make it happen. And you got to make a good plan, work really hard, and execute every day.
That's awesome. So before we start to wind this down, we're going to do a lightning round session where I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to hit it real quick. But
Okay?
where can people find you, and how can people follow up with you?
Yeah, so at Oliver Graf 360, just about everywhere. That's Oliver Graf, Graf, 1F 360.
Okay. Any other resources or tools or
Yeah, I
links that
also
you want
have
us
a
to include?
founders. I have a podcast called Founders Club. So if you're into real estate and making money, that's a great resource. I've had Robert Kiyosaki on, Grant Cardone on, Ryan Serhant on, a lot of the legends. So yeah, give it a listen. Let
All
me know
right.
what you think.
We'll put that in there. We'll put this in the notes as well for the viewers and listeners to listen to. So you ready for the lightning round?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So a book that changed how you view business or wealth.
There's a lot. I would say definitely the Steve Jobs book is pretty epic, just in terms of how he thought about the product and the customer, and that was really kind of at the forefront. And then 48 Laws of Power is a great book, just in terms of how to deal with people, how to navigate everyday challenges, and all of that. Yeah, those two are great.
All right. Best investment.
Best investment. Ooh, I bought a Bitcoin in 2017. That's probably my best investment ever.
Do you still own it?
I do.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. What
Yeah.
was Bitcoin in 2017?
I want to say I paid like $2,400 for it, something like that.
Yeah. And today I
And as
think
of
it's
right
up
now,
to
it's probably
120.
like close to 120K.
That's
So that's a lot
awesome.
of X's.
Yeah, I was thinking about Bitcoin because I have some of that as well. I was thinking about Bitcoin and how in 2020 I had bought quite a bit of it. And I still own a little bit of it as well, but I sold off more than I should have,
Never
during the
sell.
ups and downs. Never sell. Okay, still lightning round. One myth about entrepreneurship you love to bust.
Um, that it's an easy, quick way to make money. It's definitely not. It's definitely long term. It definitely takes a lot of work. There's definitely ups and downs. There's market cycles, all of that stuff you got to navigate. But if you love it, you love it, and there's nothing better.
Awesome. Last one. One thing you do differently if starting all over.
I would have gone way heavier on digital in terms of everything: content creation, content optimization, all that, paid ads, paid media, all of those types of things. And then even things like this, we're leveraging, other platforms to get out there and just add value wherever you can.
Awesome. Oliver, this was outstanding. Appreciate your openness and the way you've laid out the mindset and moves that help you scale Big Block and your long-term legacy thinking. Before we wrap, I want to ask this one last question. If you could leave one piece of advice to the next generation of entrepreneurs, building wealth and trying to protect it, what would it be?
Yeah, the first is you can do it. At the beginning, it feels hard. You start small and then you grow over time. Like I remember we set an early goal in our business, which seemed astronomical at the time, of getting 500 agents at our brokerage. And at this time, we were in a one room office that was maybe 10 by 10 wide, and we literally got out a whiteboard. We drew 100 circles on it to get to our first 100, and then we kept adding boards. And then eventually, after a couple years of just staying focused on that goal, we were able to make it happen. So I think that's the name of the game: is start small, use the resources you can in a smart way, bootstrap where you have to, and set a big goal. Even if it doesn't seem possible, if you just keep at it and keep at it and keep at it, you'll be able to make it happen.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I forget who said it, but entrepreneurship isn't about the victories. It's about getting up time and time again after you get knocked down, right?
Yeah.
I
I
need
mean,
to find out who
that's for
said
sure.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been
Dude,
through some
incredible.
really rough real estate cycles where you really consider quitting, but you just keep going one
You
step
just
at a
get back
time.
up. You
Yep,
just get back up. There's no other choice. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you just got to get back up.
that's for sure.
Oliver, incredible. Thank you again for being on Uncommon Wealth. I mean, this conversation had depth, practical value, and dude, a whole lot of wisdom. And for those listening, if you've got value from today's episode, do me a favor, share it with one business owner who needs to hear this and hear Oliver's story. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and check out our YouTube channel, JMac Wealth Preservation Solutions, where we'll be posting clips from today's podcast episode and bonus content as well. Until next time, keep building, keep protecting, and keep thinking uncommon. Oliver, thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks again, John.
Thanks, guys.